Nick David,
Here.
Nick Nudell,
Here.
Sarah Nack.
Here.
Others in attendance, John Gator
Here.
and Patti.
Here.
Welcome.
Thank you. Seeing no public, we will go on to our next agenda item, approving the finance committee finance committee minutes from November 20th. Any changes, additions, corrections? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Nick has moved.
I will second that.
Eric seconded. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Seeing none, motion passes. All right, and then Patti.
So tonight, we don't have anybody from the finance team here. Mr. Rhodes is about done with his hours for the year, so, and he is leaving on vacation as of Friday. He won't be back until after the first of the year. And Janice was going to come tonight, but she started feeling ill this afternoon. We've had a lot of it rumbling through town hall, so we're trying to send everybody home. I, in fact, stayed home Thursday and Friday because I was coughing a lot and I didn't want to be Patti the Plague at town hall right before the holidays. So we're trying to manage and keep things rolling. So I will do my best for questions that you have. If I don't have the answer, then I will just write it down and get back with you after I can check in with Janice and Dawn. But right now we have the October 2023 Treasurer's Report and financial statements. So the report itself, and I thank you to Christine, it is getting better and better with each rendition. And Dawn today told me, says, I am waiting for the day that this becomes boring. Because he says, I've done this before. This is how it works. We continue to work on it and just, make it better each time, make sure we've got the right information. So we're hoping by the first of the year, right after the first of the year, and especially right after the first of the year, because we'll have more control over the numbers. Starting January 1, those will be our budget numbers. Janice is already inputting the information in Cassell. Don will review it and verify it. And then we'll start doing our payables and things like that off of information that we're using, as opposed to waiting. We had other employees inputting information and things like that we could not confirm. It was a little difficult. So this, like I said, the October report is better than the previous report. I think the November report will be even better than that. So I'm trying to finalize all that. So as far as 2024 looks, we're on track. Our revenues are definitely higher than we had anticipated, but that's normal for, especially in local government. We definitely project those revenues very conservatively. You never know what the year is going to bring.
For 2023.
2023, I mean, thank you.
Oh, okay.
2023, our revenues are, and we did project 2024 revenues conservatively as well. But 2023, for sure, it's showing that in our financial statements that you can see in the packet. I'd be happy to. I try to answer any questions that you might have, or if you have questions, I'm happy to, forward those along. But the information is there for you to view.
Is the protective inspection the code enforcement?
I don't know. I'm wondering if we got that and I had evaluations this afternoon, so I wasn't able to get on that particular question. I did turn it over to Janice to take a look at and maybe check in with Cody. I don't know if we have a separate line for code enforcement where calls come in. I'm not quite sure. So it is on the list.
But we do have an employee, right?
We do now have an employee. Yes,
Okay.
yes,
The
yes.
salary is somewhere.
The salary is under planning and building.
Okay.
So because she's a direct report to Kelly Dykstra
Mhm.
as far as code enforcement.
Okay.
So that's in the planning and building department.
Okay.
So I'm not, that protective services, I don't know what that is. I couldn't align it with anything that I could see right off. And
So probably the telephone expense is probably not supposed to be there. It's probably supposed to be.
but there's other expenses in there, right?
I only saw the telephone.
Was it just it was the telephone expense, but there was more than just the 1 month, correct? I mean, it was, I have to go in and look. Financial statements.
It just shows telephone for the year-to-date telephone service under protective inspections, page 12 on our packet.
Thank you. If we have protective inspection equipment up above under planning and zoning. And then there's money going into this telephone services each month because it's a total of $14.93 and $148.46 went in for October. So that's what I'm not quite sure.
Oh, maybe it's supposed to be under protective inspection equipment under planning and zoning, you're saying maybe.
No, I don't know. I just
Oh.
see, I think that it's something that is attributed to that account. I'm assuming every month, because just for October, it was $148.46. And there's a total of $1,493 for year-to-date actual. So it's been reoccurring. It's been a reoccurring bill or something, I'm assuming all year. So that was my ask of Janice, is like, I asked her, what is it for? Who's approving that? So that way I know what department to talk to and figure out what it exactly it is.
Yeah, it's the same amount. That breaks down in 10 months.
Okay,
Just
yeah, that's a
within a couple
149.
days.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I'm guessing it's maybe a separate line that we have for code enforcement, for people to call in like animal checks or something, but I truly don't know. And I'm completely guessing when I say that.
So it's not for paying for telephone service, it's paying for people to.
I don't know.
Oh.
I truly don't know. I'm completely guessing. Just completely guessing. So,
Yeah, it's almost like it's its own department.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think-
so
I
that's
think
why
It's a good question that we'll
Yep.
need to dig into. more.
Yep. just something I could not get to today.
Where is the animal service? Is that under planning or something?
That's under planning as well.
What was it called? Humane.
Humane Society.
Humane Society. Holding. service there.
Correct.
Yeah, it's unknown department.
So it's been weird, we found as we've been going through all of our DLs and things that there are, I don't know if Don's told you, but there were DL codes for VHS tapes. And I mean, did they set up separate GL codes for
Oh,
purchases and it just, so we're weeding through and figuring things out and why, we don't purchase VHS tapes anymore. So there's something that we're just, when we ran the full report, it was in the beginning of the year, when Don first started, it was like, what is this? And I don't know.
VHS was like turn of the century technology.
I know, right?
Turn of last century.
I remember those days. I remember renting the big machines and things. We rent them and drag them home, and I think that was a big night. So is there any other questions other than the one from Ms. Katie?
I do.
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm not like a micromanager.
Yep.
But I, in questioning the really high telephone services expenses and internet services, when you add them together, it's well in excess of 110 or 120. It may even be more than that. That's just, and most telephone services you can get if you have internet, like VoIP
Mhm,
and that
mhm.
sort of thing. So it's kind of antiquated to have landline
Sure.
lines that you're paying for in addition to the internet. And so I don't know what your telephone system is or anything like that, but there are enterprise capable phone systems and all sorts of things. And with that kind of money, that might be worth
We're gonna look.
investigating.
Sure, I know that we've gone through, we had a lot of cell phones and things like that. We drilled down on that because we had a lot of cell phones that we were paying for service on that nobody was actually using. So we've drilled down on that. We do have to have hard lines out like our water treatment plants and things like that, because we don't have great internet service out there, which we're working on. So I know that there's hard lines out there. I know that there are several hard lines here at the town of Wellington. I know my office has one, a couple other leadership team members, but certainly something we can look at. And the internet services is something we continue to look at and trying to find a way to reduce that cost. We are hoping to bring in, we have very few options and it has not been as cheap as we'd like it to be. Comcast will be coming in sometime next year, hopefully. So hopefully that'll bring in, they'll be a little bit cheaper, but it's certainly, I will take a look at that and report out the next meeting.
So Nick, just for clarification, are you looking at the budget lines under IT for telephone services and internet services for that total is like 110?
That's where I stopped scrolling. But it's on the other, it's in other sections too, so I'm looking at it cumulatively.
You betcha. I'm
And
happy
voice
to look.
is- You don't have a landline, just
It's, yeah, it's voice over internet is what
Mhm.
VoIP stands for.
Yeah.
And I understand there may be some municipal requirements for an actual copper line. But that,
Mhm.
outside of that.
Yep.
It's usually quite a bit cheaper to do it that way.
So because I don't know your background, is that something you have a lot of experience in and things like that? Or,
Some,
I mean, just I'm thinking if
I-
I have other questions, can I call you? But-
sure, yeah, absolutely,
That's-
you
that's
can,
my
yeah,
ask.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
perfect.
And on the cell phones, I don't know if you're aware, do you know about FirstNet?
Mhm.
Does that
Yes,
ring a bell?
yes, 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 yes.
Because
We're-
they're cheaper.
Yes, they are. That, I think that's what we're transitioning to.
Okay,
First not run on AT&T.
it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, AT&T is terrible on mine.
Yeah.
I switched
Is it?
away, from T-Mobile-
Okay.
from AT&T to T-Mobile.
Okay, I will double check on that, but I know we've talked about it, so let me,
Well, the benefit of FirstNet is that it's better access for
For-
first responders.
yep, and that's why we were going that direction, because there were times that we, like when we've had trouble with our water treatment plant or wastewater treatment plant and lines were down, we had no way to get through. I mean, we needed to have that capability to, it's essentially an override for first responders to get through to like county office of emergency management and things like that.
You don't necessarily need FirstNet for everybody, but.
No, but for
Yeah.
like those types of, mhm. And I think that's exactly
Who's
what,
our provider right now for cellular?
Verizon,
Okay. Do we have a dedicated rep for the town? Do you
yes.
know?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yep, and Stephanie and,
okay, I would check with them. I know once upon a time they had something similar to that where you could be put on priority.
Mhm.
And I don't know if they have us on that or not. But
Yeah.
they're good in terms of service, but they're definitely more expensive,
yeah,
so.
I think when we talked to Larimer County, they're the ones that recommended the FirstNet because that's what they work with.
Okay.
So it just keep us all on the same platform.
Mhm.
I used to manage that for the ambulance service
Okay,
and
fabulous, okay.
it was a pretty big deal, because just a few years ago, before FirstNet was more widely used here,
Mhm.
you couldn't even use Verizon. Like on the ambulances, trying to get dispatched to go to a call and that sort of thing, there wasn't even enough service for
Okay.
that.
Okay,
On Verizon, because in Fort Collins, all the towers are oversaturated. And so FirstNet fixes that.
Yeah.
The oversaturation problem,
okay.
but it doesn't help if there's no power. That's true. Yeah,
Okay, I'll be calling you if I have any questions.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions on the treasurer's report or financial statement?
I had a few. And if you don't know the answer to these, you don't have to write them down. I can just email them to you.
Okay, fabulous.
So I was wondering on page 7, it was like a negative fire department vendor fee in the revenue. I'm wondering if you knew anything or heading inside it. It almost looks like we give them a refund of something.
Well, I know there's a lot of pass-through costs. Okay. Second. On page 77.
and year to date is negative.
Yeah, it looks like it happened last month or well, October.
Yeah.
The fire department vendor fee. I don't know.
And then just a little bit down from there, on the franchise fees.
Yeah.
I was wondering if television just got, miscategorized for the public on the.
No, I don't think it's ever been budgeted for correctly. Our franchise agreements are old. And that's
Yeah.
something we're looking at now. We've hired outside counsel to help us get those updated. So we know we're not getting the amount of money we should be receiving. We're starting first with the Comcast franchise agreement, and then we'll be going and looking like Black Hills and PDS and some of those others. So I think it's correct in looking at other municipalities. We should be getting a lot more than this. I think once we kind of renegotiate Black Hills and some of those others, we'll be getting more money, but, this,
I think he means
Yep.
it's switched, there's
Oh.
50 in the budget, but 77 in the telephone, 22,000 in the budget for telephone, but
Yeah.
24 spent, so I think it looks like it's split.
it's flipping. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
This is revenues.
Yeah, this is revenue. Right?
So probably just a coding error.
It looks like it's, or at least maybe the budgeted number is flipped, who knows which way it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I found it, yep.
Yeah,
50,000%.
If only that was in our other.
I wonder if the telephone revenue is getting posted as cable television revenue.
You said, but I.
Yeah.
That's it, but I guess it could be. We can take a look, see. Absolutely, yeah, because I can see that, because it's the 50 and the 23, 470.
Conveniently very close to.
Yeah.
Yep. So look at, so 3180 and 3190. Okay,
This next one, more curiosity than anything, on page 15. I noticed we're not getting any motor vehicle, registration or ownership or the road and bridge tax. Does that have anything to do with our audit? We're not being done?
oh,
Cause it looks like we're not getting anything.
Year to date.
Yeah.
Weird.
I don't know
I
that.
was wondering if maybe that was like,
It could be,
Held up.
because that would be at the county.
So I don't know if this is accurate. The last I was told is the only thing that's held up by the audit was the lottery
Yeah,
tax.
that's
Okay, I don't,
right,
That's all I've been told too.
because originally I was told we wouldn't get any property taxes. That's what we originally thought.
Yeah,
But then we're getting property taxes, and then Dawn said, well, no, it's just the lottery tax. So,
Yeah.
but you're right, that is weird that we have, I mean, that's a
$3,313.
$150,000.
Well, but
we can pay for our phones.
I don't. Well, I mean, that's the budgeted amounts for those are 150,000, so it's weird that we've got nothing.
No revenue. I'll click on that. Thank you. Good question. And that's why I appreciate this time. So thank you.
Or just two more.
Yep, okay. It's all good.
Page 23.
Okay.
Large revenue shortfall on the second one. Let's see what I was looking at. All of the off storm drain impact. Looks like we're missing a heck of a lot of revenue there compared to budget.
So, 207-02-3453.
Yeah.
So that's Box Elder Stormwater Authority. I'm gonna have to see when we usually get the checks from them. Because I know they do their year ends differently. We have a meeting, I think they just finalized their budget for 2024, but I know there's a meeting next week, so I can ask about that. That would be Box Elder. So
Gotcha.
let me check on that.
Last one here on page 26. So I guess I'm all about the revenue today.
It's awesome.
We do need the money.
So, kind of similar thing here. We don't have any revenue on that, use tax building materials.
Page, which page?
26.
Thank you.
which, but I think it'd also be the county.
Yeah, that's another,
Seems like that could be connected, huh?
yeah, but it's there, it's got but this has got the motor vehicle use tax and open space sales tax, which we both get from the county as well.
Yeah.
And,
So,
hey,
that's
thank you.
that's
All
I
good.
found in there.
Okay,
Can you email us all the answers?
absolutely, yes, absolutely. I will reflect it.
If you want.
Oh.
Perfect.
So I don't have to try to chicken scratch. Thank you. Okay, perfect. Yes. I will follow up on that and get that back to you. I don't know if I'll have it
Right.
this week. It might be after Christmas, but most definitely I'll reply back to
Thanks.
all of you.
Really
Absolutely.
good question. Really
Yes,
good.
great questions. I appreciate that ever so much.
All right, any other questions or discussion? Being none. State of Colorado went into special session, state of Colorado legislature went into special session. And passed Senate Bill 23B-101. Does a lot very similar to what Prop HH was proposing. Does it on a 1 year time frame. So I asked Patti to share with us what the implications of this bill are gonna be, just so we know from the town's perspective and how that impacted the 2024 budget.
So it was a reduction, we are estimating of $137,000 we had gotten on the assessor's website. They had a model where we could input information and Dawn went through that exercise and came up with 137,000. We received further information shortly after the Senate bill passed that provided about the same type of information. And we were right on with our estimation of $137,000. So we did create a reduction in our revenues in the 2024 budget to reflect that. And then also reduce some expenses in order to cover that in the 2024 budget. We should be hearing by January 3rd from the Larimer County Assessor of what the new mill is and what that rate looks like. If there's any changes, then information will come to the Board of Trustees and probably that meeting in first or second meeting in January, depending on how quickly we can turn information around. Do we get anything updated as far as our budget and things like that?
And this allowed for the budget to be delayed.
If we wanted to, if we
or
needed to. I checked in with, so I put out a query on the manager's listserv to see what others were doing, just because I wanted to, there's other municipalities larger than us that have larger staffs that they've thought this all through. So, what are you guys doing? And everyone, I did not come up with anyone that was delaying adoption of their budget. Some had already adopted their budget when this came out. Some adopt in early November. So by the time this was approved, they had already adopted their budget. So, so we're just going in line with other municipalities. Other municipalities will be either amending their budget or, doing a new resolution for their appropriations if need be. So we'll see what those numbers look like and we'll pop them into a new resolution if needed, or if it's fine, then I will advise the trustees and we can advise the finance committee as well.
I have a question on the 137 K that we are gonna be lower. That is still, we're still getting more in property tax in 2024 than we are in 2023, even with that 137.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just less than what we were gonna get,
Yes,
but it's
less.
still more than this year.
Right. It's
Okay.
less than what we projected.
Okay.
Any other questions on this? I just thought it was important for us to understand the budgetary implications. All right, well, that actually moves us into the next subject, since the Board of Trustees approved the 2024 budget at the December 12th meeting. See if there was any, Patty, if you had any other update?
No, it was a process. It was another trying to provide as many opportunities as possible for public and the Board of Trustees and the Finance Committee to hear the budget and hear options. We worked really hard to create a clean version of the budget as well. So we will be submitting this to GFOA, Government Finance Accounting Officer Accounting, GFOA, Government Finance Officer Association. And because they present awards for budgets that have specific information in it. So we will be submitting that. So at least if we don't get the award, at least they'll tell us what we're missing in our budget. They hold it to a very high standard. I know Fort Collins has received the award for a gazillion years. A lot of municipalities, once they get on track, it's easy to recreate that budget year after year. That's something that, a goal that we had to make our document something that the town could be proud of. We want the numbers to be good. That's first and foremost, but if we can provide the background data and that other information in there, it makes it a cleaner and better document.
When you say a clean version of the budget was submitted for the award, what does that mean?
So this is like a cleaner version. So like last year's budget was really rough. You couldn't quite track it. You couldn't quite follow it. The numbers were a little off. So And then the year before that, the budget, the CIP numbers did not, that were like in the back with the pretty pictures, didn't match what was in the budget itself. So when I say cleaner version, everything, like Dawn says, ticks and ties, it all balances. So that was the goal of this budget, is to create a clean document that everything balanced out, our CIP numbers with our projects balance out to what's in the budgets themselves, things like that. And those are some of the things that the GFOA will take a look at.
So it's like the whole budget presentation, like the packet that's included in here, that's what's
Yes.
submitted, that whole presentation?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So like the mission and vision
Mhm.
and then.
All of it,
Okay.
yes. All of that gets submitted. Well, Kelly was finalizing some of that front part, not changing any numbers or anything, but just there was a couple edits that she was making, just to make sure it read well. Yeah, so we'll see, we'll hear back, I don't know, usually it's like May, June.
Oh, wow.
So it's a ways, it takes
Okay.
a while for them to, you figure they're receiving them from all over the country and they're having to review and adjudicate all of those.
It's a great document. It gives a lot of really good overview. I mean, just you look at the background of the town, the basis of budgeting, overview of the accounts, like good for us.
Yes, it is good. It is good, and hopefully people can look at it and find the information they're looking for. That's the goal.
The policies that are in here, is that all of the policies?
What page is that on?
Page 56 of the packet,
Thank you.
or is it just applicable?
I think that's just the fun.
Yeah, that's just the fund balance, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and that's something that Donald and I can talk about that at the next agenda item, I think. What we're doing next, yes. Talking about that at the next agenda item, the policies and things.
So any questions on this document? Very well done to the town, and thank you to the trustees for the work getting that approved.
So, the 137 is reflected in this, 2024 budget property tax number.
Correct.
So we have 11%, it says, according to this on page 70, 11% change. So am I to assume that from the projected, I haven't calculated,
You know, I can assume that, but I don't know that for sure.
that's pretty good, even with the
Mhm.
decrease.
Mhm.
So 11%, okay. Well, look at that, franchise fee telephone minus 100%. Or cable.
I will follow up on that, thank you. I see that there.
Well, I wonder if that's why it looks so funky
Mhm.
in the financials, because it's cleanup going into the next year's budget. Like general ledger transfer.
Maybe.
It's between the 23 projected and the 24 budget is that change.
Yeah, I see it.
So it's went from 50 to 0.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See, if you look at the 23 budget for telephone and the 23 projected for cable, they're exactly the same.
They're the opposite, yeah.
I think it goes back to what.
Yeah.
you were
I
saying.
know what you're saying, yeah,
There it is, exactly, yeah.
yeah, I see it, yep.
Interesting.
Multiple
Good eye,
multiple eyes
good
is
eye.
really helpful. Yeah, okay, take a look, see. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Feedback?
It's a nice presentation.
Hope it means something. We worked really hard. Staff has worked really hard on it.
All
Like I
right,
said, the goal is to make it something that the community can understand.
So one thing I did want to note, just for the finance committee, when we were working through budget, one of the amendments that was proposed by trustee Teets was in regards to he wanted to look at actually putting money into the budget for economic development. And she was wanting to try and put 100,000 for that. The board did not feel that at that moment was the right time to look at it, but there was a pretty strong consensus that's something they definitely want to look into. So I don't know what that will come back out to, what the board will ultimately decide, but it would be something just to be aware of, that may be something that comes in possibly end of first quarter, because the board will be re-looking at a lot of things in the budget. So that would be a likely time that would be reevaluated.
What did you say it was? I'm sorry.
Economic development. It was a proposed amendment to the budget. It did not pass. But it's just something to keep in mind. That's something that the trustees, even though it didn't pass, they were very much saying, hey, this is something we think is important to be looked into. Whether or not that will happen in this budget year as an amendment, or it gets pushed into next year's budget, I don't know yet. But there's something for you guys to keep in mind. If you have any thoughts on economic development or ideas on that, it is likely something that we will push to the finance committee to maybe give some feedback on.
Do you have a page for that? Do you have an economic development page that?
There is the page, but it's a small amount, and it's mostly just to do like our business retention meetings and things like that.
Yeah, it's $15,700.
Yeah, so it's not much.
Do we
Yeah.
know what that budget is for?
So it's a lot, some of it is for programming, some of it is, we wanted to do some business retention meetings and things like that this year, so we'll hold those. Marketing materials, I know sometimes there's expenses to attend regional events related to economic development, trying to get our foot in the door, I know there's No Pill Ready. It's pretty busy in northern Colorado. They do a lot of outreach and work regionally within Weldon, Larimer counties. So there are various organizations. Upstate is another one, but there's always a cost to attend their events.
Trustee Gator, were there other initiatives or proposals, or you said there's a number of things they're going to look at?
So we're the three positions that Patti mentioned that staff is it's already included in the budget. But staff is going to be bringing those back to the board at the end of Q1 to look at that and just see if we're in a position to be able to add the 3.75. So that's our this 0.75 position for the library, a new engineer, new position in planning, and then another position in parks and recreation. So those positions will be coming back at the end of Q1. And then the board agreed with the suggestion that Mr. Rhodes made at our last meeting. I brought that up to the board, and they agreed it would be a good idea to just do a quarterly review of the finances, just kind of see where we're at, just based on, especially looking at our enterprise funds potentially going into the negative in 2025, according to projections, just to see, okay, where are we tracking? Is building coming along, or revenues coming in higher, lower, just kind of seeing where we're at. So those are the only ones. I don't think there's any other major projects. So those positions, and then likely the economic development, if it's not reviewed before that time, would likely be reviewed at that time. So
No other motions though to amend the budget?
the only other amendment that was proposed is I proposed an amendment just to pull the positions from the budget and then potentially add them back in. But that amendment failed as well. So those positions were just left in the budget. Basically, the only thing it would have changed is just pulled them out, and then we would have added them back in with a budget amendment if there was room for them. So at this point, they're just in there, and then staff will bring it back to the board for discussion. But they will remain approved in the budget unless the board chooses to make an amendment, a budget amendment at the end of Q1 to remove them from the budget. Otherwise, they'll just stay there in the budget.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other discussion on the budget? Making record time. It's a holiday week. I like it. Item number 5, finance director and treasurer update and recruitment. Ms. Garcia.
So, I presented to the trustees, acknowledgement that Mr. Rhodes's, contract was coming to an end on December 31, 2023. We received an opportunity for an extension of his contract. He for 20 hours per week until June 1 of 2024. He is amenable to that. He is and knowing that we only have him until June, we know we need to go out and recruit for a finance director. I talked to the trustees about giving the option of either doing the recruitment in-house or hiring consultant or a headhunter to do that for us again. We have not been real fortunate with the use of a headhunter in finding a finance director. We've been very successful in finding some really great candidates for other positions using just going in-house, using our own network. So the Board of Trustees provided direction to do the recruitment in-house. So we'll start working on that right after the first of the year. Part of what Mr. Rhodes has offered to do is help us with that recruitment. That's one of the things that he does with Baker Tilly is he goes through and does that vetting of applicants. He talks to them on the phone to make sure they have the technical skills that they need to work in as a finance director. And one of the bonuses for us, as opposed to hiring a headhunter, Mr. Rhodes knows Wellington now and understands our work culture and knows what is needed, what is the level of service needed to be successful in a position here in Wellington, particularly as finance director. So we'll start working on that pretty quickly. There had been a request by the trustees to look at a separation of the duties of the finance director and treasurer. We are a statutory community, so we are required to have a treasurer no matter what. That's part of the statute requirements. So I pulled together some data. You can see that I put some of it in the packet here. It's also in the Board of Trustee packet from the last meeting. Information that I pulled from the Colorado Municipal League, checking in with a couple of the other municipalities that have a separate treasurer and finance director. The city of Salida is one that we look to quite a bit. They have an elected treasurer and a full-time finance director. The treasurer, elected treasurer makes $450 a month. I mean, so, as elected officials, you don't do it for the money, right? But I presented the information. The trustees at this time were not interested in pursuing it at this time. I told them I would bring it back in June. We'll get our finance director online, and then maybe that's a discussion that, we can look at moving into the future. It's certainly something that, I'm willing to continue to research and provide information. But at this time, we're just going to move forward. The finance director treasurer is one position, and then we'll come back in June to talk about that a little bit more. Yes, sorry, I forgot. One of the other things that I'm lining out some of the duties for Mr. Rhodes until he's gone. Some of the things that we needed him to do as far as creating the financial policies that we've talked about in the past, making sure those are in place before he leaves and vetted by the finance committee. So he's doing that, and we'll continue to oversee the finance department and working on those finances and financials and treasury reports and things like that. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. So he's only working 20 hours a week. So when we hire someone full-time, what additional duties will they be doing that he hasn't?
They'll be doing the long range planning and things like that. I mean, there's a lot of work that we are just kind of like skating by right now. We'll be rolling into audit, so we'll have audit work to do. So it is definitely a full-time position. If that is your question, it is more than a full-time.
If he was able to get it all done in 20 hours, I was wondering why we.
No, so it's 20 hours a week for the period of time. He's taking a cruise, he's taking some vacations, so there'll be definitely weeks that he works more than the 20 hours. I'm just trying to keep it down to something that he's comfortable with. If I could have him for 40 hours a week, we could use him. It wouldn't be a problem whatsoever. He would be busy. But this is what he's ready to do, and he's ready to be 20 hours a week. So in order to keep him, I'm making that happen.
Has he been 20 or has he been?
Oh, he's been 30 to 40, sometimes 50, depending on questions and things that come out. But now that we've got some of these financials starting to get ironed out and things like that, and now, like I said, we have control over the numbers starting the first. I'm hoping that, we can just not have as many issues and be able to provide some clean reports to you all and not have to go back and have all these questions, which are getting less and less each time, but
Mhm.
you know, there's our questions. So I have to keep that in mind as he, you know, he won't be attending Board of Trustee meetings. We all know how long those are. He probably won't be coming to Finance Committee meetings, or he'll attend remotely, so he doesn't have to worry about the travel time. And so there's places that we can reduce his time, you know, and just and finish out the process until we can hire somebody new.
So the things that aren't happening, obviously the audit,
Mhm.
I guess it's on the process, so it's kind of helped with that a
Mhm.
little bit.
Yes.
But not the prep, not
Mhm.
giving them the
Yep.
the stuff.
Yes,
And then the long range.
long range planning,
Right.
just in, you know, I think, did I give you guys the job description? No, I can send.
It's in the
Okay,
trustee
I'll
packet.
send you guys out the job description, just so you have an idea
The.
for
which
the
trustee
finance
packet?
director.
From our December 12th meeting,
Maybe.
it had the job description of the finance director / treasurer position.
A lot of it is oversight, Christine, and over, you know, like all the reports get put together, and then they are that second set of eyes to try to catch those issues like you guys have brought up tonight. Really, that should never come to this point where you all are having to pick out the issue, you know, inconsistencies and things like that. That could be caught in the finance department before it ever gets to outside eyes. So, you know, perfect, in a perfect world, the reports get generated, the finance director does that look, catches any issues, sends it back to whoever generated the report, and those corrections get made.
It just doesn't have the time, is that what you're saying?
Correct,
Got it.
correct. Yes, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, what all does he do? He does a lot,
Yeah.
and it is,
Yeah.
he's definitely busy and trying to use the town's time the best that he can. Getting the budget done is a big deal.
Oh, true.
Huge deal.
Usually consultants don't have trouble finding things to do.
He's been one, he is one that as a finance person understands the financial impacts of his hours. So he has tried very hard to keep those to a minimum. There's, you know, he like doesn't come to our leadership team meetings, you know, different things. So I try very hard to keep his responsibilities just to finance and working on the projects that needed to get done. He's still working on the 2021 audit, which is, I've scheduled it for the first meeting in February. We'll see. But he had to put some time into that, along with answering some questions and things like that. He was supposed to try to get that done last month, and there were some questions and things that came up that he put his time towards and stuff.
But, and they'll also be overseeing staff, which he wasn't doing.
Correct.
So that does take time to
Absolutely.
manage
Mhm,
people
mhm.
and meetings.
I know they take up so much time. I know that's what he's like, do I need to come back? No. Only if we were talking budget. If we were talking budget, I had him in there, so, you know, we could plan and not have to go through questions twice, but
Slightly related, do we have an update on the RFP or we did the?
We did select the audit firm that you
Yeah.
guys recommended.
yes.
Yep, we ended up going with you guys' recommendation on the audit firm.
Hinkle?
Yeah,
Hinkle.
Hinkle and Company, they are pretty well known in northern Colorado. Very excited to have them on board. They're ready to start. They're ready. They are ready. So
We're just waiting for 21 to get done.
Yep.
Still,
Mhm.
before they.
Rhodes gonna do, Mr. Rhodes finishing the asset?
Yes,
For
yes,
21.
yes. He has submitted it to them. So hopefully then they can do all of whatever they need to do with it. Yeah, he's done with that part, but we have to write a management letter, which is required with the audit. So we'll work with him on creating that management letter. And I think that's the last thing that we need to do, but we have to get that document back from the auditors, the completed audit, before we can do the rest. So they are working on, I believe, finishing up their school district audits, and then they will be finishing with ours.
So they're December, yeah.
Yes, so they're finishing up those, and then they'll be,
I know, but ours has no deadline, right? Ours is late, but has no deadline.
Is there a transition plan for him?
Mr. Rhodes.
Yeah,
So So the hope is, so that's why we're going to go into recruitment right after the first of the year. So hopefully we can get someone hired March, April-ish at the latest. So we'll have him for those 20 hours a week for that transition.
What if you found somebody in January? Would you still be keeping him on through
Probably not.
the June timeframe? So that's gonna depend on.
Yeah, depending on, who we get. I mean, it's going to take us, we won't put it out until probably at least the second week of January. I mean, need to get through the holidays. People aren't really job searching then. So we usually post things for 3 to 4 weeks, and then it takes us a couple weeks for scheduling interviews, and we'll have one of you participate in that interview process. And you know how that goes. Then we have all the interviews, and then we usually bring our candidates back, whoever our finalist is, to tour the town, make sure you know what you're getting into, take a look, see, go out to the treatment plant, see our big projects, things like that. So it'll take several months to go through the process. Unless we just get somebody who just slays us. Okay. Yeah, it could happen. It could happen. I'd love nothing more. I know Don would love nothing more than to really be retired. He's been so great and so patient, and I know he's ready.
So at this moment, we don't need to select someone for that.
I would say
Okay.
it would be good to do that at this meeting. Again, if you want to wait till January meeting, you can. I would say if you can do it now, that way that person can be prepared come January, because what I don't want to have happen is our meeting in January is not until like the 20-something, I think,
Yeah.
because of the holiday. And so if for whatever reason they've gotten things along, I don't imagine we'll be already doing, but it would not leave much time for that person to prepare if interviews were a week or two later. But if you guys would prefer to wait till January, that's fine. But if you guys are comfortable selecting someone today, that would be my recommendation. I know myself and trustee Mason will be representing the board of trustees on that, and then we would like to have someone from the finance committee as well, just to be a part of that process with the interviews.
Is there anyone interested in being on that interview panel?
And everyone speak at once.
Half a day, depending on how many applicants we have, because we'll go through the phone interview first to kind of sort out who do we need to bring to the table and have that in-person interview. We try to bring 3 to 4 applicants in, and depending on what the pool is, and do those face-to-face interviews. And then staff would take care of the follow-up interview for the town tours and things like that. So it'd be about a half of your day generally.
That's good information for people to know, make enough time.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you figure each interview is about 45 minutes, and we do about a 15-minute spot in between to just kind of go to the restroom, get a drink, and kind of talk about what the highs and lows were, and then move on to the next candidate.
They'd be willing to do it depending on the scheduling.
We'll schedule it based off of what works, and as long as we can make it function between people, that's why it's helpful for us to know in advance. So we can start working those days out, and so we know, hey, we're going to schedule interviews on these days.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody good?
Anyone else interested? Just think first person that said gonna get it.
Who's not here?
Sadly, no one. So Nick, it looks like your point. So thank you. I'll let you know if we start moving forward, what we kind of got scheduled and planned.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
One more quick question on this. Has Don indicated at all if you would be willing to work past June 1st if something happened and we would need it?
Yes, he's willing
Okay.
to stay on as a retainer basis for questions. He knows inevitably, he's done this before, inevitably, the new finance director or somebody will have a question, and he will be the best person to answer that. He says that he is on retainer for other municipalities he's done this for, so
Cool.
he was comfortable with that, and I checked in with Baker Tilly, and they agreed that would be something we could accomplish.
Is one of the qualifications CPA?
Not a requirement.
But Don is a CPA.
Yes, he is.
I think it would be good, but, is there preference on there?
Yes, it's listed as a preference.
That's good.
If anyone's interested, the job description is on pages. 15, yeah, starts on page 15 of the 12/12/23 Board of Trustees packet.
Is it page 15?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, Nick. I will still send it out as a PDF probably tomorrow, just so it'll be easy to get, but, thank you.
All right. Well, that concludes the agenda items, action items, discussion items. We move into reports. I'll start to the committee first. Anyone on the committee have a report? And I usually go around and ask people. I do not have anything. Trustee Gator?
So the only things, one, just wanted to thank you guys for the work that you've done. I will say that, I appreciate the questions you guys were asking today. Don't feel bad about asking those questions. So in our conversation about the treasurer and finance director position, one of the things that I had brought up was the reason behind that is you have two different people, is it's just checks and balances, right? You have one person doing things, one person reviewing them. That way, if anything's off, they catch it. And the board of trustees had brought up the point, we've got this great finance committee of very knowledgeable people. And so they're really kind of looking to you guys as a part of that checks and balance. So don't ever feel bad if you see something, don't feel like, oh no, I don't want to bring this up. Like, that's why we have a finance committee. So if you see something that doesn't make sense, please bring those up. Don't ever feel like, oh my gosh, I'm asking questions. It helps the staff, it helps the board. And that I kid you not, that was one of the things that was said, is this is why we have a finance committee. So in determining whether or not we really needed those two separate positions. So just wanted to thank you guys for the work that you're already doing, but also just encourage you, and you don't ever feel bad about, again, our goal is we want all right, we're responsible for the taxpayer dollars. Like, we need to make sure that we are doing the best job possible that we can with those dollars. And we're looking to you guys to help us kind of fill a gap where we saw, hey, maybe we're missing this on the board of trustees and not being able to kind of look at this in depth, and staff doesn't necessarily have all the time in the world. So having people that have that outside set of eyes looking on it really helps all of us out. It helps staff. It helps the board of trustees to know that when we're getting financial reports and things like that, hey, they're more accurate. And so we can make good decisions moving forward. So just appreciate that and the work that you guys are doing on that. The other piece, I will speak more with the board of trustees at one of our January meetings to see, as we talked about this, my goodness, economic development. I'll bring that up in January to have discussion as to whether we see that as something that we'd like to start looking into. One of the things, if they do say, hey, we do want to start getting some ideas around what benefits or whether it's a good thing or not, I may ask that we have the finance committee look into that, so that staff, we're not taking a ton of staff time to look into that initially, but may see if that's something the board is comfortable saying, hey, finance committee, you guys go and maybe pull some things together and then bring some thoughts back maybe in February or March to the board of trustees to then make a decision at the end of Q1. Hey, do we want to actually have staff invest time, or do we want to look into this further? But I will talk to the board of trustees in January, and then I will let you guys know what the outcome is. It would, to me, it would make sense to, because that's economic development is all about generating additional revenue for the town, but there's also costs associated. And so your finance committee would be a good place to look at both sides of that equation and maybe give a recommendation. Does it make sense? So, but I will, like I said, I can talk to the board of trustees about that. I will talk to them in January. And talk to Trustee Teets, the mayor, and everyone else, and I'll you guys know at our January meeting what the outcome of that discussion is. That's all I got. Merry Christmas. Thank you guys again.
Any staff?
Your next meeting is scheduled for January 15th, which is Martin Luther King Day, and we are closed that day. It's a holiday. Did you want to?
We have discussed.
Oh, did you? Okay,
No,
did I?
what was the
I was not here, so sorry.
bylaws say we push it a week?
Yes,
right?
which would be
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. It is, I missed that conversation. I think I was not at your last meeting, so.
No, this
No,
was
this was a while ago. They
Okay.
said that in general, when there's a
Yeah.
holiday on a Monday, the finance committee meeting will get pushed to the
That's-
following
Okay,
Monday.
perfect. I will
We
get it
figured
right.
if we moved it up a week, then we wouldn't have any reports.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
we did go
True.
back to the bylaws and
Okay,
clarify,
excellent.
and I believe we even amended it to state that.
Okay.
To make sure we meet every third Monday except.
Or, okay.
Yeah.
I'm reserving the room.
I think Ethan has it on the calendars that he sent out to with the committees to the board of trustees.
Yeah, he did. I just, this room hadn't been reserved yet,
Okay,
so I just
perfect.
did that. Worth it? Perfect. That's all I have. Thank you.
Any other reports? Well, I would just like to say happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Good night,
Good night.
6:58.
An hour.
But, except for last time.